Yeah, babe.
Hi, this is Casey Ingram. I'm coming to you live right now in Indiantown at the Post Family Park. There's a meet and greet that is being hosted by Councilwoman Susan Gibbs Thomas, Commissioner Harold Jenkins, and also there's a couple other Martin County commissioners that are in attendance. We have Commissioner Ed Campy and Commissioner Stacey Hetherington. Very important issue that they are talking about this evening, and they have invited all residents out from Indiantown or beyond to try and answer their questions, because Indiantown Council and under Howard Brown, the city manager's leadership, is discussing bringing in a hybrid type of fire rescue, emergency fire rescue, and no longer using Martin County's emergency fire rescue. This is a very, very serious issue. For example, we're going to have some of the commissioners on a little bit later, but they're going to talk about why Martin County can provide so many more services for around the same money. And Indiantown residents are being told they're going to save a lot of money, services won't be quite as good, but you'll get used to it, and I'm not sure that's settling well with everybody. So Iggy, if we can go over here and look real quick at who's here. The meet and greet this evening is from 5 to 7, so we are just a little after 5 right now, and as you can see, hopefully I'm still on, we don't know. Okay, so hopefully I'm still on. All right, Iggy. As you can see, folks, we have a lot of people over here. If you can pan around to the crowd, Iggy, and just show everybody. There's a good crowd here already getting their questions answered, and they're listening to the councilwoman and to the commissioners to find out what this means to Indiantown. Is this really a good idea to separate from Martin County emergency services, or even have a hybrid? Hybrid meaning they might use the EMTs from Martin County and hire their own fire department. That would be a hybrid, or completely have an independent emergency response unit here in Indiantown. We're going to talk a lot about what this means to you folks at Indiantown. And there's been a meeting here recently at the County Commission where Taryn Krista put together a presentation to kind of go over the topics and the issues that Indiantown is considering, and what it means to the county and what it means to Indiantown. You know, it's really, folks, I got a lot of the papers here, but it's a little distressing in my opinion, because at what point do you put cost over a person's life? Commissioner Campy had put together a nice flyer, and we're going to answer some of these questions through the evening. But what level of training do the volunteers have? These are things you need to really think about if you're a resident of Indiantown and you're thinking about parting from the Martin County Rescue Services. What level of training will the volunteer firemen have? What will happen when there is a brush fire? Who will respond to hazardous material spills, gas leaks, and carbon monoxide emergencies? What are our backup resources coming from? What happens if I need to be flown to a specialty hospital? Folks, Taryn Krista said about 85% of their emergency calls are medical related. 85%. So these questions are very important when you're trying to decide who should be your emergency service responders. They also, another question, what will be the response times of a volunteer system? How much will my taxes increase if FPL leaves? Florida Power and Light in 2020, Indiantown paid $5.3 million for their share of the countywide fire municipal service taxing unit. The total county budget for fire rescue that year is $47.7 million. So Indiantown paid $5.35 out of the $47.7 million. Indiantown residents paid $231,665 of that $5.35 million. Again, you residents paid $231,665. That means the rest of that $5.35 million was picked up by companies such as FPL. FPL is a really big portion of that, but your business and industries were picking that up. Roughly $4.7 million was paid by one taxpayer in the village, and that's FPL. So when I say businesses like FPL, yes, they did pay some, but FPL is your biggest supplier of money to help pay for these fire services. 87% of the total. So what happens if FPL relocates because the local services, the hybrid services, cannot cover the type of emergencies FPL needs? These are questions that need to be asked and answered. It's not just about a final dollar. And as dollars have been tossed around, in the Board of County Commission meeting that just happened this past Tuesday, Taryn Krista, after she reviewed the cost, took into account grants that the cities and the villages and the county gets, she said at the end of the day, Martin County actually ended up being just slightly cheaper than what Indiantown was proposing. Now Indiantown has come back and they've thrown out some different numbers, but folks, this is something that you need to make sure your council is clear on. We don't want to switch and bait where they come in and make you think you're saving millions of dollars and then come back later and say, oh, we were wrong. We didn't realize we have this expense or that expense. This is not the time to be guessing on numbers. And this is a serious issue. Taryn Krista had actually had some communications with the city manager, Howard Brown, that the numbers they were using were not correct. And that was part of the reason why it looked like Indiantown was going to save some money, but they were using older numbers. And once she plugged in the numbers that are current for today, that's when she discovered you're not saving any money here. So all these issues are absolutely very important to cover here this evening. Again, Commissioner Jenkins, Commissioner Campy, and Councilwoman Susan Gibbs Thomas is here, and they are, there's got to be a couple hundred people here already, and they're going to be here till 7 p.m. to answer questions and hopefully educate you about what is going on. This is a super serious issue. You know, what's being proposed? Hybrid EMS fire volunteer system with no backup resources. So that means, folks, if there's 2 calls, who's the backup resource? Right now, Martin County has that handled because they have stations all around the county. So if they need a backup resource, they have it covered. There's no services proposed for fire inspections, fire investigations, or 911 dispatch. Well, there's a cost that needs to be covered because you certainly need to have a 911. And again, if Martin County were to come in to back up Indiantown, they need to be paid for that. So there's cost. They're also proposing just 1 fire engine and 2 ambulances. That's it. Do you know that Martin County sends a paramedic and an ambulance on every call? So you're already covered with Martin County. Cost of the new fire station was not included, and the village would be responsible to pay the $750,000, $750,000 for the FPL TPP grant. So this is a really big deal, and as you can see, this is why there's several hundred people out here already, and this event just started. I'm sure there's going to be more coming in that are concerned. What happens if I get sick? What happens if I need emergency service and the ambulance is already in use by somebody else? Are the responders going to be trained to the same level that the county has trained? They cross-train all their employees. They are trained for emergency response or fire. So they can help you with a health issue, or they can help you with fire. Do they have that cross-training here with volunteers? They also talk about retirement, incentives, and education, increase in response times, so outdated equipment. All these things, you know, Martin County, because of the funds they have coming in from all the communities, have up-to-date equipment, state-of-the-art equipment, and they keep it that way. Also keep all their personnel trained. So their emergency response systems are absolutely seamless. So that's what we're going to be talking about here tonight. We're going to have some people that will be coming in, and we'll be talking with different residents. We'll also have the commissioners on to give us some answers and their opinion about what's going on here this evening. So other than that, yes. And also, everybody, I've got a chair here, so anybody that wants to come up and talk, hop right in the chair and we'll do. We're going to get you mic'd up here. Again, this is...
Okay. If I don't fall over, this doesn't feel very straight. Okay.
If you're comfortable to stand, you're welcome to do that as well, either way.
Oh, I'll fidget.
Okay, you've got it.
That's just the way I am.
So, well, I appreciate you coming in here. What is your name?
My name is Linda Nykum.
Linda Nykum. Just because we have the breeze and the wind, just speak loud and clear, because we got to.
Yes.
That we will have everything come over our social media just fine. But so,
All right.
Linda, I appreciate you coming out here. Why did you come out here this evening?
Because I feel like the other members of the council are not listening to us. No matter how much we speak, how many letters we send, if they are listening, they're not responding. They're not giving us any answers to our questions as to why.
Well, and this is very frustrating because it's such an important service to have in your community. Have you ever had an issue with the Martin County in a bad way with the Martin County Fire Rescue?
Never.
Never.
Never. It's a one thing that we could always depend on, that it was right around the corner and it would be at our door within minutes after a phone call.
Even if there were other calls, right?
Yes. Never ran into it. I was here when we had the brush fire. I live in Indianwood.
Okay.
So I know that their quick response at the time of that brush fire, which backed up on all of the houses on Divot on the east side of the community.
Linda, you just touched on something, and that is something the Martin County Fire Department offers that Indiantown would lose, and that's the tankers to handle these brush fires. It's more than just a fire truck. You have a special pumper trucks for these types of fires. So it's very important. Let me ask you this. Let's say Indiantown saves $1 million by having this hybrid version. Is that worth it to you?
Not now. I'm at a point where I would prefer to tell them that we're not saying absolutely no to this project, but we are saying not now, not yet. When the village is a little bit more established, when we've managed to fulfill some of the other commitments that have been made in regards to the water plant and the municipal center. These are big things that are going to take big hunks out of the local budget. We don't need this on top of everything else when those two are unknown items.
And you just had an issue with your water system this past weekend, as I recall.
That's true. I was seeing posts that water was out, and I went and checked, and sure enough, water was out. We knew automatically we were going to be put under a boil water order, which we were. They did get it fixed quickly, but I think it's only one of many that will be happening. The water plant is dilapidated, equipment is outdated. From what I understand, when it was under private ownership, it was not required to meet state standards as far as state levels of compliance for all of their things. Now that it's owned by the municipality, they have to bring it up to snuff, up to whatever the state requires these water plants to be. And I do believe that their consultants probably lowballed their estimates big time.
And Linda, that is one thing. First of all, folks, obviously water is the key to life. It's the most important thing that you have. And Linda's here bringing up a really good example of why we really need to prioritize how Indiantown is spending its money and seeing that we already have fire services, that it's adequate, working well, there's no issues. Why aren't we addressing water issues that we're going to drink, that we cook with, that we bathe in? We should be addressing that first.
Definitely. The possibility of having more rooftops put into Indiantown, and there seems to be a lot of potential development being talked about and going on, that will raise our tax base where we won't be quite so dependent on FP&L for our money. So why can't we wait until these are in place and then and then move forward if we need to. And that brings up another thing. With all of these additional rooftops, from what I understand, the water plant was at full capacity as of a couple of years ago. So how are they going to service all of the new development?
That's right.
Without putting a lot of money into the system right away. And the pockets are only so deep.
Yes, they are only so deep. And, you know, if they don't have any more money, then we all know what happens. They raise taxes.
Of course.
So, Linda, if you have one thing to tell your council tonight, what would that be?
To listen to everybody around here. They may not see it from your point of view, but you have to listen to them, and you have to respond to us and let us know that you listen and that you hear what we're saying. As a tax preparer, I have to sign off that I've done due diligence for every single tax return I do. I don't think they have done their due diligence in researching this whole project. And the only thing they're doing right now is they're being followers instead of leaders. And that's not what we elected them to do.
No, and they do work for the people.
That's what we're supposed to be.
That's what it's supposed to be. You're absolutely
supposed
to be transparent, working for the people. These issues are so important. So, council, Linda said it well. Please listen to the people. Listen to your constituents, the people that you do work for, the people that their hard-earned money pays your salary. So, Linda, I appreciate you coming here on the show, and I wish you all very well tonight, and I hope that it ends up.
I'm sure you will hear all about it.
I will.
Either way.
I certainly will, but I'm hoping for the best, and I know you have good services out here, and that's what's most important.
Thank you for talking to me.
Thank you, Linda. Appreciate you stopping by. We appreciate Linda coming by here. Other folks will be coming, as well as, again, we're going to have the commissioners will be stopping by when they have some time. Really appreciate listening to the residents, because they're living here, and they have to deal with that. So I am excited to have the next guest. She's been right over here to my right. That chair is a little.
Yeah, wow.
I'm going to feel really bad if my chair gives out on me. But so they haven't yet. So what is your name? We'll start.
My name is Holly Garrett.
Holly, very
ma'am.
nice to meet you. And obviously a resident of Indiantown.
Yeah, resident of Indiantown. My husband, Mike Garrett, was born here.
Okay.
He's lived here his whole life. All his family lives here. I've been a transplant. I've been here about 8 years, but honestly, I was very much drawn to Indiantown just from the, there's three things about Indiantown, and that's it's a God-fearing city. The people, you can count on them. It's not all me. The people that are here, I mean, how many places can you go to the local lumber store and you'll say, or even the local restaurant and say, oh my gosh, I brought my wallet at home. And they'll be like, yeah, when you come back, no problem.
It's still there.
I mean, that just doesn't even exist anymore. And that's what Indiantown is. And that's why all these people are here, is because that's what we want to keep.
And again, we're at Pope Family Park. We're having a meet and greet to talk about the fire and emergency rescue services that are here in Indiantown right now. Martin County has been providing those services.
Yes, ma'am.
Have you had any issues with their services over the years?
Actually, there's three reasons I'm extremely passionate about keeping Martin County Fire Rescue here. The first reason is I was at a funeral about 3 years ago at Timer Powers Park for a flight medic who was very well known here. And my blood pressure dropped to 40/60. And they were there, and if they wouldn't have been there as fast as they would have, I wouldn't have made it. Another big reason is my parents, which I will not disclose their age, but I'm in my mid-40s, so that should give you an idea. They both live in Indianwood, and so does my husband's parents. And they're later in life, and if something was to happen, I've known several people in Indiantown or in Indianwood who have had heart attacks, who have, and these things have happened, and if they wouldn't have gotten there when they did, they wouldn't have made it. And to wait for, they're going to have these other services, but if you look at statistics, the most people that aren't working for a county and they're working for private companies, they're kind of like second tier. And a lot of things that a lot of people aren't discussing is, yeah, we'll have an ambulance and we'll have a fire truck, but what happens if we need the flight medic? Or what happens if we need something else? Then what's going to happen is we're going to pay a serious premium. So to me, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I know that my taxes have doubled in the last year,
Wow.
just over everything that has gone on. It has come to light that Brown's whole purpose for the council is to do as much spending as possible between now and 2023 or 2025. What happens then is FPL negotiates their contract.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, FPL has made it very, very clear that they're not going up. They can move to Okeechobee. They're not going to pay more. They pay 80% of our tax base.
Yes.
So when Howard Brown was faced with that and we said, hey, Mr. Brown, what happens when they leave? His solution is all these other rooftops that are going to come in. Well, when taxes go to $4,500 a year, the people that are here that made Indiantown won't be here anymore. And then we might as well just be Fort Lauderdale or another big city.
Holly, it's really shocking to hear what you said. And I had mentioned this before, but folks, I'm going to mention it again. FPL pays $4.7 million towards the municipal service, towards the fire and emergency rescue services out of Indiantown's $5.35 million.
Mm-hmm.
FPL pays that much. You guys don't want FPL to leave.
Oh goodness, no. If they leave, then our taxes are going to skyrocket. And FPL right now, I mean, why would they put up with it?
Right.
You know, why would they put up with it? You know, they could go anywhere. All they have to do is move a building. FPL, what they pay for is intangible tax. And what that means is the equipment that is in their building, which can be located anywhere. It's not like they have a huge factory here and it would cost them millions and billions of dollars to move it to another county. It's actually next to where I live. They built this huge facility and they have the transformers, all the equipment that they need to do FPL. So that stuff can be easily moved. And they've made it crystal clear that they are not going to pay any more money, and Howard Brown's pretty much given them the cold shoulder saying, well, oh well.
So folks, you need to really pay attention to what your council is deciding, what your city manager is doing and potentially negotiating with your biggest taxpayer in the community. Again, $4.7 million of the $5.35 Indiantown pays for. Residents, the actual residents pay $231,000, just over $665,000.
Well, I'd also like to say, how many more mistakes are we going to make? You know, I mentioned to my husband when they bought the property over here next to the Shell station they paid $2 million for it. And once it closed, and I said to my husband, why would we pay $2 million for a property when the man doesn't want to sell it?
Right.
Obviously, we're paying a premium for it. We don't need it right now. Why don't we wait? People's circumstances change. The economy changes. Why not wait a little bit? Nope, they pushed through. Brown convinced the council they needed to do it. Now we own a $2 million piece of property that, guess what? It was supposed to house the municipality on, but at the end of the day, our LDRs and our comp plan does not support it, so it's illegal to build anything on it. And where did that $2 million go?
Oh my goodness.
And how many more times are we going to do this?
Make these mistakes. Let me bring up, I'm going to circle back to your heart attack that you spoke of when you first sat down.
Yeah.
Martin County has cross-trained their fire rescue personnel as EMTs.
Yeah.
And they send out an ambulance with every call.
Oh, and they're very good. They're professional. They're good. They've got all of the right equipment. How are we going to know that the equipment? See, the thing is when you start a new company or a new anything, you have to start from the ground up. So you're purchasing everything. Martin County is established. They already have all this, and that's what people don't realize. Not just that, but the council, coming from Howard Brown, I don't think our council is bad. I think they're being given misinformation, and they don't know. They're going through the experts, as they call them. They call Howard Brown and some of these consultants experts. But the problem is they're not looking, 2 + 2 is 4 all day long.
Right.
And at the end of the day, first they tell us that it's going to cost, I think it was $5 million to do this service. And we said, well, wait, Martin County's doing it for 4.8 and they're willing to give us $500,000 back. that doesn't make sense and it's better service.
Right.
Then they had another meeting and the guy said, oh no, now it's only going to cost $2 million. Well, they're trying to fit the narrative and they're trying to, and that's only for half the services. But the problem is the people in Indiantown, they're not educating them. And that's what our point is today, is to educate the people and to say, look, we're being duped here.
Right.
And at this point, because it's Martin County Fire Rescue, it's a matter of life and death.
It truly is, and that's something you need to bring up. I asked Linda that was here before you, even if you saved $1 million for Indiantown, is it worth it to you?
Not if I lose my parents or even myself.
Absolutely right. And if you could say something to your council, what would you say to them?
I would honestly say, guys, I think at this point, and I've called each one of you to have meetings with you, which was turned down except for with Jackie Clark. I am meeting her Monday, and Susan Thomas. Guys, I beg of you, right now, you have locked horns because you feel, honestly, and it was said by Janet Hernandez at the last meeting, that you think that the village of Indiantown is calling you guys stupid and that you guys are being hand molded by Mr. Brown. That is not what we're saying at all. What we're saying is, please, let's all get together as a community, look at the numbers, see what makes sense, doesn't. I'm all about saving money, but at the end of the day, if it's going to cost us more and there's no benefit, then we're setting ourselves up for failure. And the sad part is a lot of you guys, I know Susan Thomas Gibbs, her parents live here. I know Janet Hernandez, her parents live here. Our families live here. Your families live here. Are you really willing to put them at risk just because you're upset because we're protesting? And that was my whole reason for wanting to meet with each of you guys, to say, let's stop the protest, let's stop the thing, let's all sit down as a community and see what makes sense for our community. I will be the first to say that I was not for incorporating in the beginning, but we're here now. And there's nothing we're going to do about it. But if we keep making these bad decisions, it's just going to implode.
It's going to multiply. And one thing I will say that, folks, you just mentioned that the council came back and said that, it's now $2 million less, or the experts came back. People, how many times does your government tell you something's going to cost something, and it always costs more? It never costs less. And being they started out with a much higher figure, the 4.8 million, and then all of a sudden magically it's now down to 2 million with less services. This is kind of like a shell game. You want to make sure the council members are truly vetting the information they're getting, and my goodness, be transparent. Listen to your constituents, because after all, they do work for you.
Well, and the big thing is this $5 million does not include Lifelight. It does not include backup services. It does not include when there's multiple, which there has been. We've had several fatalities right here on the main road here.
The Warfield?
Yeah, on Warfield. So that's the thing they're not getting. If someone has a heart attack over here, and we have a fatality over here, and people, oh, well, that's almost never going to happen. What happens when it does? Martin County, then are they going to come and, now they have to disrupt their services to come into ours? How much more are we going to have to pay?
And it's something you'll have to pay for. You're no longer contracted with Martin County.
Correct.
So 911 services, there's another thing. So, Hallie, thank you so much. I wish you well tonight. I appreciate you stopping by here and talking with me.
Thank you.
So folks, this is the concerns of Indiantown residents, and the council members, as Hallie said, just asking you to please rethink about what you're voting for, rethink about what you're being told. All these folks are here tonight because they are concerned, and there are so many issues that have come out that they have questions about. They don't feel like the information that is coming from the council, that has been given to the council, is accurate. So that's something that we have to make sure that all our elected officials are transparent. I know you're listening to the experts and you're considering that vetting, but sometimes we have to vet a little bit further. And let's talk with the county a little bit more, and let's talk with our fire rescue experts. Again, we are at Post Family Park in Indiantown. We have several hundred people here. The commissioners will be here, and Councilwoman Susan Gibbs Thomas, I always want to change her name around. They will be here till 7 o'clock tonight to come out and answer your questions. Sir, appreciate you stopping by the booth here, and what is your name?
Ernest Banks.
Ernest Banks. So Ernest, what brought you out this evening?
I live in the village.
You live in the village. And what do you think about the village parting ways with the Martin County Emergency Services and Fire Rescue?
Well, I had a history in the volunteer department that was here for years. And I was a fire chief for 7 years in town. And it was a damn good experience, and we helped a lot of people, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I learned a lot of stuff, and I went back to school. But I think I think this effort to disassociate Martin County Fire Rescue with the village of Indiantown hasn't been well thought out, and it's misguided. And for a person like my wife and I who live here, if there's even a scintilla of a chance that it reduces our service level, I'm not for it, and I think it will. And based on my experience all those years and knowing how the town has grown and the demographics have changed, various reasons, I'm not a fan of the idea. I think we need to stay with Martin County Fire Rescue, and they've done the job.
Well, Ernest, you were a volunteer fireman for many years, so you know how important the job is. What about the training for these folks? We know that Martin County Fire Rescue personnel are highly trained.
Yep.
They're cross-trained to be EMTs as well as firefighters.
Yep.
Does it not matter so much, or do you find that that's an important aspect of the service that Martin County is providing?
Well, yeah, I mean, the training is key, because it's not only to keep yourself out of trouble as a participant in the process of rescuing someone, but making sure that you don't hurt them worse, making sure you can get them extricated or whatever in a timely, safe manner, and then getting them to the hospital without further injury. I mean, there's so many things, there's so many facets to it. I can't describe all of it, and it's a complicated business, and requires a tremendous amount of training, and you've got to stay on it. You've got to keep training, because of the things you encounter change all the time as a firefighter or even a medical person. So it's like anything. I work in the gas business now, and it's largely the same thing.
Right. And all this costs money, even for the village to have the training to keep it up. This is going to cost more money. And one of the other guests brought up before that you had brush fires out here. They're not contracting for brush trucks, for the county's already providing 2 brush trucks, and a tanker. So there's a lot of equipment that also is needed to fight any kind of fire or respond to any type of emergency, where Martin County has all this equipment. With the hybrid version that Indiantown's looking at, you're not going to have as many resources available to you.
Right, and the water supply system, I know from experience, from testing hydrants back when I was in, the water supply system in Indiantown is questionable at best, based on flows and things. It's an old system. Mm-hmm. So you have to have a tanker, or maybe even more than one. They can call in 2 or 3 tankers if they need them.
Right.
Whereas,
right.
This is the thing that's important. And I don't think, like Mr. Jenkins was saying, what's that going to save me, $50 a year on my taxes? I don't think that's not a good cost-benefit ratio. I don't think anybody's done that analysis. So, I'm not a fan of leaving Martin County Fire Rescue. And
what would you say to your council members if they were standing right here?
I would say, please rethink this. Try to do some more research, and please keep in mind there's a lot of taxpayers in this town that are not for this idea, and please listen to us.
Fire rescue is not just about saving a dollar.
No,
it's about saving lives.
Yep,
it's about saving lives.
That's right.
Ernest, thank you so much for stopping by. Please share more. No, if you've got more to share, please do. This is the time.
I probably should be quiet.
Well, thank you for stopping by. I wish you all the best, and hope this turns out positively for everybody. Appreciate you coming out here this evening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So folks, you're hearing over and over again, the residents here are asking the council, please slow down, listen to us, please research, please vet what's going on. They are not sold that the numbers you're providing are accurate, and even if they are, they're concerned that a cost savings is not worth somebody's life, somebody's loss of property.
So you looking for me?
I certainly am.
Brian Powers.
Brian Powers, good to see you. Good to
ma'am.
see you. I appreciate you stopping by.
Sure.
Iggy will get you hooked up right here. So
All right. It's official. Can I just hold it, or you got? Oh, okay.
we have one of the what I consider one of the most powerful names here in Indiantown. It's long established, a wonderful name. It's the Powers. But Brian Powers, I appreciate you joining me here on the show this evening. Again, we're here tonight to talk about Martin County Fire Rescue Services that Indiantown has always had, but they're considering breaking off and bringing in their own volunteer or hybrid services. So Brian, you've been here, your family's been here a really long time. What are your thoughts on this?
You know, I don't know where to start really, but I think there's a couple things. One, we're in our second or so year, and we got a lot of things going on. I don't know that this is a huge priority. I think another issue is that it's not very well thought through. I think when you look at the details, and the devil's always in the details. You know, my dad was a longtime commissioner, and his thing was always about getting your ducks in a row. And I just don't think all our ducks in a row to even begin to consider something like that. And you know, and I guess another thing on that is I just don't understand the urgency. If you want to consider it or whatever, fine, but do your homework and then have a plan. And I haven't heard, you know, any of the details for what a plan is. I've seen a budget that doesn't seem to have everything, and so you know, it just seems premature, I guess is the right word, to for them to consider it. And
it seems a little suspicious because the prices have been changing. It started out around 4.8 million. Now they've found a cost savings of excess of millions. It's like, why are like the numbers changing? You know, do you really know what they are? Are they vetting it fully?
Yeah, and I think the issue there is the cost of being wrong is tremendous.
Right.
You know, and you know, if you're wrong on your budget for the parks, or you're wrong on some other things, you know, that's another thing.
Your life is not depending on those.
Yeah, and then if they give you a reason to do it, like if there was a failure of service, you know. And you know, honestly, we've had these discussions in the past, and I remember when the lumberyard burned down, and because we didn't have enough water to fight the fire, literally we had to build a whole new lumberyard. And you know, there's been issues like that, but we've learned from them and we've gotten better because of them. And so I think to the extent that we're getting better at it, and I don't see the compelling need to do it. I don't, you know, given the services that we have now.
Well, Brian, one of the former guests that was here a few minutes ago had mentioned that the water plant, she would rather that they focus on the water plant and make sure that the water system here in Indiantown is up to speed, because the pumps just went down this last weekend. It's a huge concern.
I think that's a good point too. I mean, it's it's an enormous task that they've all taken on, and you know, my hat's off to them on that. But yeah, you got everything can't be a priority. And at all levels of government, I think we're finding that it's like everything can't be a priority. You can't spend money on everything, and but that's another aspect to it as well.
It certainly is. Have you ever had any issues negatively with the Martin County Rescue Services here in Indiantown?
No, you know, back in my propane days, we used to train together, and we used to, you know, do those kind of things. I mean, we've had a long association. Our parents were the first volunteers to run the ambulance here in the 70s, and so, you know, we've certainly been around it throughout the years, but I think we're in a good place.
We've already talked a lot here with the listeners about the cross-training that all the Martin County Fire Rescue personnel has as far as being EMTs, fire departments. They send ambulances on every call. Let me ask you this, and I've asked the other guests this as well. If Indiantown saves $1 million, $2 million, is that worth it?
Well, it's, you know, the question is, one, show me how you're going to save $1 million, and two, tell me what I'm going to give up. You know, to when you say, is it worth it, you have to understand what that package is. And I just don't think we have an understanding yet of what's in it. And,
Right.
and so I think we'll have to see. But it's, for me in this case, it's the rush. Like, I don't understand why not just put the brakes on, take a year. If you want to keep thinking about it, think about it. But like, there's like this whole, we're rushing to a cliff to make this decision that, and I just don't think we have all our facts straight. And so time will tell.
Brian, if there's something that you could say to the council if they were standing here, what would you ask them or say to them?
You know, I guess I would counsel them to kind of go back and understand, you know, when we started this process from an incorporation, we articulated a well laid out vision, I thought, and it was well laid out because we beat the hell out of each other thinking through these, you know, the pros and cons. We didn't just rush into it. There was an event that triggered it, but, you know,
Right.
once that happened, we wanted to make sure that we could cover both sides of the base, and I just think that they owe it to themselves to do the same. They need to do their own homework, not rely on others. Just because you hire somebody, that you don't necessarily do what they say. You ask your own questions, and I just think there needs to be more of that. I think, you know, I don't know, they just need to do more homework, I think, in that regard.
Brian, thank you so much for stopping by.
Welcome.
Your words mean a lot, and I know you strongly supported the incorporation. You were one of the
Sure.
people that was helping to put that together.
Yeah.
So
Well, not just me. There were plenty.
there were plenty, and over in Stewart, I was supporting you folks as well. And you know,
We're grateful for that.
Absolutely, and I wish you all the best, and hope that they do put the brakes on and consider everybody's opinions. Again, council, they work for the people,
Sure.
and there's no reason to rush because you have a great service right now in Martin County Fire Rescue. So I hope
Agreed.
that happens and they slow down and take into account what everybody's saying here this evening.
See how we do.
That's
Thank
right.
You.
Thank you, Brian.
Good deal.
Appreciate you stopping by.
Great. Thank you.
So again, you know, the residents are saying this over and over to the council. Please slow down, stop. We don't need to rush and change fire services right now.
I'm sorry.
This is a time where it's important to listen to your constituents. The council does work for the people of Indiantown, and they're saying, wait a minute, let's just pause for a minute. It's fine to research things, it's fine to consider things, but we don't have to rush to action here. And, you know, there's several hundred people here. Again, they're going to be here until 7 p.m. Commissioner Jenkins, you have to,
Or are you still on?
yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Keep going.
No, go right ahead. Commissioner Jenkins is here. Councilwoman Susan Gibbs Thomas is here from Indiantown. Commissioner Ed Campy is here. I've also seen a couple other elected officials, Commissioner Hetherington and City Stewart Commissioner Becky Bruner. So, you know, everybody here is concerned, and the whole county is concerned. You know, Indiantown, you're part of us. You're part of Martin County in general, and everybody's been following what's going on here. Everybody was just amazed at your incorporation and the fight that so many residents put together and mounted to get incorporated. And you know, this is a community that is strong. They stick together, and they're doing that here this evening. It's very impressive. As I look around and I hear people talking, everybody's just concerned, and everybody's asking that question: why is the council rushing? And you know, I've had Commissioner Stone or Councilman Stone on the show before, and I know you're a very caring person and you care about Indiantown, but it's just time to just pause, put on the brakes. I think that your constituents are being super clear, and they want somebody to just truly vet the numbers. They're questioning the numbers that are being provided to them. They're not sure that they're accurate, and I can understand why, because they've been changing. And also there's been communications with the city manager, Howard Brown, our village manager, Howard Brown, and our county administrator, Taryn Krista, that, Taryn said, hey, wait a minute, the numbers you're using are not factual. You need to use the numbers that I'm sending you to make sure that your costs are accurate. So there's just no reason to rush ahead, and that's what the residents are saying. There's no reason to rush ahead. We need to make sure the consultants that have been hired are truly giving the right numbers. You can't just count on one person's word. I know hiring the consultant probably seemed like a good idea and you take that word as gospel, but I'll tell you what, the constituents are not taking those words as gospel. So it's going to be just super important. And again, we're going to have Commissioner Campy and Jenkins over here, Councilwoman Susan Gibbs Thomas, but they're super busy answering a lot of questions of the residents that are concerned here. And you know, Martin County provides 1 fire engine, 2 rescues, 2 brush trucks, 1 tanker, and 1 utility. It's a full complement of backup apparatuses and personnel. And that's something that people have brought up here over and over. What if we have more than 1 emergency? What if there's 3 emergencies? Who's the person that's not going to be attended to? You know, these are real issues, and it's $1 million is not going to comfort anybody if they can't get emergency services to help their loved one in time. The proposed service here in Indiantown is a hybrid EMS fire volunteer system with no backup resources. No backup resources. Again, I don't even know that you're going to save $1 million. That's just what they're claiming, and there's a lot of question with that it would even cost the same as Martin County. But even if it did, is it worth $1 million to anybody if your loved one is the one that pays the price because there was no backup emergency service available? Those are questions that have to be answered by the council. I know the people here are very concerned about that. Indiantown's talking about 1 fire engine and 2 ambulances. Not very much at all compared to what Martin County. Now over to my right we have Commissioner Harold Jenkins joining us from Martin County Commission, and very good to have him. Commissioner Jenkins, you co-sponsored this meet and greet with Councilwoman Susan Gibbs Thomas. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
Good to see you.
Now that I'm sitting down.
Yes, have a seat. I got a seat.
Yeah.
So, you know, I listened to the Board of County Commission meeting on Tuesday, and it's a very contentious issue indeed. But as I sat there and listened, myself, I couldn't understand why Indiantown is even considering breaking off from the Martin County Fire Rescue, and I think that's really the question.
It is.
And you had brought a flyer, and let's go over some of those questions and answers for folks that are listening at home. Very informative. What level of training will the volunteers have in Indiantown compared to Martin County?
It's a question that I haven't heard the answer to.
You haven't heard the answer to.
Right.
In Martin County they're fully trained, they're cross-trained, they're EMTs and fire personnel, fire rescue personnel,
right.
firefighters.
And they have to, for us to attain ISO, which if you ask me what that means, I can't remember. It's on there.
Insurance Service Office.
Okay, and that rating basically sets our homeowners insurance rates, right? So if they can't achieve what we can achieve, and I can't see they doing that by with a hybrid system, it can't do anything but increase. So any small savings is going to be literally eaten up with that. So let's say they do save a little bit, and this increases a little bit, and we have a net zero. Why?
What's the point?
Exactly.
And you have less services.
And I think that's what the point of everybody that's here is. What's the point? What's the benefit?
Yeah, I was going to say, Commissioner Jenkins, you've just spoken to several hundred people here. What are their concerns? What are they saying to you? What are their questions?
Why? Is there any just cause to even explore this? I can't come up with one. You know, if they were receiving bad service or somehow our costs were out of line, I could see that, but they're not. I tell you what, the last guy that just walked up there in the blue pants asked me a question that was very intuitive when now I'm thinking about it. He says, how many complaints of our Indiantown Fire Rescue does Martin County receive? Right? Good question. I can't say zero because I don't know that for a fact. I've never heard of anybody. And I guarantee you, in my district, in District 3, which are very vocal folks,
right.
If there was something, even the most minor thing, I guarantee my office would have heard about it. You know, and Colleen, my aide, would have had to field some problem. I have never, you know, in the 5 years or 4.5 years I've been doing this, heard any complaint from anybody in the county, for that matter. So
I haven't either, and I've asked each of the guests that has been sitting in that seat you're in right now, and same answer.
Yeah.
The services have been exemplary.
Right.
One of the women, they saved her life. She had a heart attack. Saved her life.
I had a heart attack, no 4.
You
Guess
had
what?
a heart attack. Which that's
I got to
something
ride to
bring
the
up.
hospital.
Ride
so,
in the
yeah,
hospital,
yeah.
and every time a fire truck goes out, an ambulance follows it.
Absolutely.
And that's Martin County.
Yep.
It's not going to be the same here, and that's the difference.
Well, and we actually have paramedics. If the ambulance by chance is tied up, we have paramedics on our ambulance. On our fire trucks. So the fire truck itself can be the initial response to a medical call. So people don't understand that either. So.
And Taryn Krista said 85% of the calls are medical related. They're not fires. So that's the other thing that I think you brought out is you have pumper trucks and brush fire trucks, fighting trucks. You know, that's something with the village. They're talking about 1 fire engine and 2 ambulances. What happens with the brush fires? And Indiantown just had a brush fire recently. So,
well, I'll take it a
aware.
step further. We have a utility that is not as reliable as maybe it should be until they do some investment. One of the reasons we have the tanker trucks here, we have 2 tanker trucks here, is because of the unreliable utility. You know, fire flow from a fire hydrant.
Right.
You know, the pipes in the ground may be so antiquated, so you got pressure is one thing, but you know those pump truck or the tanker trucks, they actually draw water, so you have negative pressure on pipes. So maybe that's another reason why we have a higher level of apparatus out here anyway. So
Because you're prepared for a breakdown
every
or whatever.
eventuality. We have all, forest land or undeveloped land more than anywhere in the county. So that's brush trucks.
And residents have brought that up. Why aren't we working on the water plant, the water system first? That's something that they're very concerned with.
It seems logical that if you had a dilapidated utility, that maybe you should focus your financial attention on that rather than trying to upset the apple cart on something that's perfectly fine. So I don't.
Were you surprised at the county that this even came up as an issue at the county level?
No. Yeah, I am. I just it's illogical, right?
Well,
I'm a very logical person. This doesn't make a lot of logic. So.
And the flyer that you brought talked about FPL, and we've brought this up before here on this broadcast. But Indiantown pays $5.35 million for the municipal taxing unit CERT, and that's the unit that pays for the fire services. But of that, FPL, one company, pays $4.7 million, 87%. The actual residents of Indiantown are paying $231,665. And FPL, by the way, needs specialized emergency services that Martin County can provide.
That I don't think 1 fire truck and 2 ambulances could take care of. So
And
how are you doing that?
And one of the residents said they'll pick up and leave. She said, I believe that they will pick up and leave, and then we're going to lose that $4.7 million that FPL's been paying. So, there's a lot of issues here that's surprising. And, the one thing that I've overwhelmingly heard is everybody said, stop, slow down. We need to rethink this. What is the rush? Why? Why now? So, Commissioner Jenkins, this is wonderful that you came out this evening. I know you've been talking over there to a lot of different people, and I'm sure that all of them are very concerned.
Well, the original plan was that we were going to have a joint meeting out here, which I was all for. But after a not so successful commission meeting, it was quite apparent that the village didn't have interest in it. And honestly, I don't think a few of my commissioners kind of lost a little bit of direction on that too. So that's how Susan and I got together. We got to do something. Indiantown residents are my constituents as well as they are with Susan's.
Right.
So, we've had a wonderful time out here meeting. I've met people that I've never met before that actually have lived here.
Yes.
I'm sure we've crossed paths. I've
Right.
lived here my whole life. They've lived, so it's kind of interesting. And that's what my job is, right?
That's right. It
So-
is. It is. And you're
Yeah.
you're a wonderful person for meet and greet.
yeah,
So
yeah.
talk about this a little bit, because you did at the county commission meeting. Indiantown wants Martin County to give them a further break on the cost. What does that mean to the rest of the county?
Well, for one, we can't legally do it. Okay, so and the misconception that, and Mr. Brown seems to is of a mind that if he says it enough times, it becomes true. Our system is a system. It's not just that firehouse. That firehouse is just part of the overall system. We have 11 firehouses. We have 330 employees, I believe, right,
Okay.
in fire rescue. Okay, those are not only firefighters and paramedics, Those are administrators. Those are the dive team. Those are the extraction team.
Right.
You know, where they have a whole semi, you know, just for extracting people out of crumbling buildings or car crashes with the jaws of life. We have the hazmat team, which, by the way, this is an industrial community.
Yes.
I think maybe hazmat's pretty important.
Yes.
So we have a hazmat team. We have all these specialized teams, dive teams. You know, we got a great big lake out there that we need dive teams for with the Florida Paralympic.
That's right.
So that's part of the system. That's part of what you're paying for. You're paying for all of that. You're paying for the ladder truck. We have, I think, don't quote me on this, 3 ladder trucks in Martin County. When a ladder truck has to respond out here, that's part of the system that, so it's
They're already
not,
paying for.
It's
Not
not
extra.
just the red trucks that sit in that building over there with the thing. And by the way, let me add something else. The level of service Indiantown receives, has to receive just because of its geographic area, is dramatically greater than the rest of the 10 stations around the county. They have 7 people, not 5. They have 2 ambulances, not 1. I think the one on 76 has 2.
Okay.
But they have brush trucks, they have tanker trucks, they've got all these apparatus out here. So they're
You can respond at any
what
time.
we have, we can respond to almost anything out here. So
If Indiantown basically goes their own way and it does either a hybrid or hires their own emergency services, will that station, the county station, still remain out in this area?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
I think it'll go further west. I think it'll go, I'm just guessing, this is
Right.
my whole deal. We haven't had a discussion about it. But I would assume it'll be, a station will be, potentially a new station will be somewhere between Western Palm City and northern Indiantown.
Okay.
Somewhere out, Fox Brown area or something like that. So we can respond. Then that becomes my job to make sure that my constituents outside the village boundary, that their services are not diminished or we deal with it as best
Right.
as best as we possibly can.
Right,
So, which also throws another monkey wrench is how do we deal with the people out by the lake? They're still in my district.
Right.
You know,
On the other side.
and so what do we respond to Hope Sound? I don't think so. So, you know, that's a challenge that we've got to do. So them making this decision, like I told everybody when we were talking, this isn't just going to affect Indiantown.
Right.
It's going to affect the rest of the taxpayers of Martin County.
It certainly
you know,
will. It certainly will.
And so I would hope that the village council would take that into consideration. Why are you, anyway.
Well, the Martin County Fire Rescue is a well-oiled machine, and as you said, it will affect the taxes for the rest of the county as well. If Indiantown's paying $5.35 million, they pull out. The rest of the county still has to pay that because you're not going to get rid of this station at all. It's just it may be moved, as you said, but we're still going to have all the expenses. And the fact of the matter is, if Indiantown has a specialized emergency, I'll call it, Martin County is going to have to charge them for it. Right now, it's included in that cost.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
because Indiantown's not going to have the equipment to be able to handle that emergency.
Mutual aid means mutual. If they're
Right.
going to respond to our area with their 1 fire truck and 2 ambulances, that's one thing. But once anything above and beyond that comes the bill. What happens when Trauma Hawk lands in the middle of
That's right.
town and sends somebody? I
So I said,
I don't know what that costs, but I bet you it's a whole bunch.
I bet you it's a whole
Yeah,
bunch too.
yeah.
I bet you it's a whole bunch
Yeah.
too.
So
And even if there's a cost savings, I said, there isn't one person that's going to say their loved one was worth that cost savings
Yeah.
because they couldn't get
Right.
emergency services there. So
Right.
thank you, Commissioner
Okay,
Jenkins.
thank
Appreciate
you.
you stopping
All right.
by my little makeshift booth here.
Okay, cool.
Have
Cool.
to get you into the station here sometime too.
Yeah. Oh,
So there we have it, folks. Commissioner Jenkins was on the ground talking with the folks here. They're out here until 7 o'clock. It's about 10 after 6 now, so we have a lot of time yet. We're also going to hear from Commissioner Campy and Councilwoman Susan Gibbs Thomas when they have a moment. But this is, everybody has very similar concerns here tonight, and it's flat out. Why are we in a rush to change our fire rescue services? There have not been any issues. The cost, residents do not feel it's fully vetted. Commissioner Jenkins just brought up some really good points. This cost includes about any emergency you could possibly have. It will not, Indiantown, if they go to a hybrid service. They're going to have, 2 ambulances and a fire truck. What if you need a tanker to fight brush fires? What if there's a special hazmat emergency? Those are all those issues that are covered right now under the Martin County Fire Rescue. But if Indiantown goes and has their own specialized services, you'll lose those. So we're going to have, and I'm very proud here, we're getting mic'd up to my right, we have Councilwoman Susan Gibbs Thomas. How are you doing tonight, Susan?
Very well, very well. It's been an awesome day.
You helped co-sponsor this meet and greet with
Yes,
Commissioner
yes.
Jenkins, who just
Yes.
left my little makeshift booth here. So you've been talking with a lot of residents. There's clearly been several hundred people through here at least.
Yes, yeah.
What are their questions and concerns for you?
Their questions and concern is level of service. That is a huge thing. And everybody that I've spoken with, whether it be here at this event, whether it be at the pharmacy, the grocery store, at the school, wherever I am, I just stop and ask people what, and I try to make it very neutral. You know,
Right.
on that issue, on this issue, are you for the village having their own or to stay with Martin County Fire Rescue? And I have not had one person say, we need to do our own. So I think that's an indicator.
Susan, and the other thing I've asked everybody that has sat in that seat this
Mm-hmm.
evening is, have you ever had any negative issues with the Martin County Fire Rescue? And resoundingly, it's no. They saved my life.
Yeah.
I had a heart attack, and they're extremely happy with their services. And Commissioner Jenkins was just bringing up for Indiantown, the Martin County Fire Rescue Services can handle any kind of emergency.
Yes.
What happens if Indiantown brings in its own hybrid service, its own volunteer? You have brush fires, or you have a hazmat emergency.
Correct.
What's going to happen? They don't, with an ambulance, 2 ambulances and a fire truck, you don't have the
Correct.
same resources available.
Correct.
Hopefully Martin County is available, but then you'll have to pay
Correct.
for it.
Absolutely.
gonna go on
Absolutely.
top.
And it's even notated in the presentations that we receive,
Mm-hmm.
and it is on our website. That option 4, which we chose, which is that hybrid option,
Yes.
it says right there in it that the level of service, it says limited backup resources. It also states inspection and 911 dispatch not included. It does not state that there is no fire station included. And that's something that we would have to get. There's nothing that we can rent or lease. There's nothing that we can rehab. So we would have to build, and that's several million right there in itself.
Susan, the numbers that have been presented to you by the specialist, the
Consultant,
the
yes, our
consultant,
consultant,
thank you.
yes.
Do you feel that they've been accurate, or is it hard to tell? I mean, that's
And-
the question
and-
that's come up tonight. Is,
Yes, and that is their job. That is their job, to be accurate. And if I take it at face value, the numbers that they have given us, and I look at them, it does not. It says first the total village cost for year 1 is 6.6 million. Okay, so if that is, but it said that does not include backup resources, does not include inspection, does not include 911 dispatch, does not include a fire station. Okay, so that is over the 5.3 million that we pay Martin County. And we don't have the headache. We don't have to worry about all that other. We don't have to worry about personnel. It's just the taxes are collected, Martin County takes care of it, and we're part of their system.
That's right.
Yeah.
And the 911 system is incredibly important. You'd have
Correct.
to have that set up.
Correct. But now that's just the first year. So if you look at the second year, they say, and it says right here, 4.8 million. But you still have those same backup limited resources. You still have that 911 dispatch not included, payment for a fire station, and the inspection fees. Plus, there are other issues that I have not heard spoken to that need to be asked. Because Martin County, if they get a call of someone who has fallen,
Right.
they go to their home, they help them up, they make sure they're okay. If they do not want to be transported, Martin County Fire Rescue say, thank you so much, they leave. They're not charged for that house call. Somebody with low sugar, they respond, they go, they're okay, we really think you need to be transported. No, I'm good now, sugar's good, I feel okay. There is no charge for that. A wellness call. And I think that's a question that we need to ask.
Right.
Is, will that change? will people be charged for that call to their house because it's a contracted service with that ambulance? So little question, and it's those little things that you're not
right.
aware of.
Good question, yes.
That they kind of add up.
Very good
So,
point.
yeah.
Very good point. So we don't, and that's one thing that's come up a lot this evening is they question that the consultant's numbers are correct, and the numbers have been varying a little bit. So it's like, how can we be guaranteed these figures aren't going to go up? Because with
Right.
government, Susan, I think I can talk honestly with you, even though you're an elected official, costs never go down, they always go up.
Absolutely.
So people are very concerned about that.
Absolutely, and they should be. They should be, and they should do what they're doing right now, ask questions, make sure that they're getting the facts, because that's a big thing, that it's out there that, well, you're not being told the true facts. You're not understanding the true facts. And what everything that I am quoting and I'm encouraging people to look at is what is provided on the village website that has been provided by our consultant.
Okay.
So those are the facts that I know. Those are the facts that I am basing my opinion on.
Right.
The known facts. So
That's
it's
what's
not
presented to
yes,
you.
absolutely. And I find that it's a lot higher than what we're doing with Martin County.
And one thing I'll say about that too is I saw a communication from Taryn Krizda, the county administrator that was 2 years city manager Howard Brown, said the numbers you're using are not correct. They're not what I sent you.
Right.
And that was part of the reason why the costs were not accurate for Indiantown,
right.
because he was using older numbers that didn't
Correct.
cost as much as it does today.
Correct.
So,
Correct.
all these things, I think that, the community just says, slow down, council, please.
Right.
Let's
Correct.
really vet this. And that's why
Correct.
you hosted this evening. To
Absolutely.
Listen to these people.
I feel like there's a frustration level in Indiantown by the residents
Right.
that they do not feel like they're being heard. And it's upsetting them, it's making them angry. And I think it's our job to listen. And I say the village council, because every resident in Indiantown is our boss.
That's right.
And for us not to listen to them, that's a crime. That's just a shame. Because if we don't listen to them, then we're not representing them.
From
And that's
your
our
lips
job.
to God's ears. You're absolutely right.
And that's our job.
It truly is, and you're proving that tonight by being out here and hosting this and talking with all these folks.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, I think it's almost like Indiantown Sugar Daddy. You're so fortunate to have FPL here.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What
Yes,
could
ma'am.
possibly, what could happen? And I have this flyer here. I've said the figures. I'll say it again. They're paying $4.7 million of the $5.35 million Indiantown pays towards these services.
Yes, ma'am.
$4.7 million.
Yes,
But
ma'am.
one of your earlier residents said they can pick up and leave because Indiantown does not have the same response services available. They don't have the same complement of services that
Well,
county does.
okay, say the service, they didn't like the service. They could leave for that. They could also pick up and leave because over on West Farm Road, their holding facility, their tangible personal property tax, if they had that over in Collier County, would be substantially less.
Okay.
So that's the reason there's a negotiation that we have with Florida Power and Light, and we hold it with the county to talk with them about rebating them back. So incentivize them to stay.
Right.
And so at any point they can say, it's still better over there in Collier County, we're out of here. Okay, so that takes a portion of it.
Right.
Within the past couple of years, they've taken one unit offline out there at Florida Power and Light. So that diminishes that tax base that they pay. And I believe that there is another unit or two that they're going to take offline, so that will decrease. And what I have heard is Florida Power and Light's not going anywhere. You can't say that.
Right.
That is not realistic. That is not the truth. They can if they want to.
Right.
You don't anticipate it, but you know what? Sometimes things happen that you don't
That's right.
anticipate.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right. So all these things are very important to take into account.
Absolutely. So the village council is very cognizant that we need to make sure that we are increasing our tax base. We need rooftops. We need new businesses.
Right.
So they're very aware of that, and that is their hope for the future. Is development, and it's coming. We have all these developments, and that'll pick up the slack. And I have expressed that we've heard that before in Indiantown. Syntex Homes was poised, had all the land, had everything planned out, everything went bust, it went away. Just didn't happen. We cannot count our chickens before they're hatched. We
Right.
anticipate it, we look at it, but you don't know until it actually happens and it's there.
That's right.
So putting this off for a year, putting it to the people for a referendum, let the people choose.
Right, right.
You know, those are all options that I think are viable.
And people are very concerned about the water system here. They're saying,
Yes.
why isn't the council focused on that first?
Yes.
As opposed to changing something that isn't broken.
Yeah, and I think we are moving forward with that. I say recently acquired it. It was October that we acquired it.
Okay.
So we are moving forward with that. The loans, you know, are being processed. We're still making resolutions or agreements in order to receive those, and so those things are moving forward. And as we know in government, nothing's ever in a hurry.
Right.
It kind of goes at a
Except for getting
snail's
rid of the
pace.
fire rescue.
Yeah. Yeah.
Except for this
Seems
one
that way.
issue, but
yeah, seems that way.
But
And if we're focusing on fire rescue, then you're right. We're not focusing on the water plant
water
or the
infrastructure.
roads or the drainage. And that's something that just kind of dawned on me. This council is very critical of the Martin County Commission that we have done without, and because of decisions that they have made. And it kind of dawned on me, actually this morning I was thinking about it, that when we took over those responsibilities from the county and we took those MSTUs, and there were certain amounts allotted for drainage, certain amounts for roads, that I'm going to have to look into it, because I don't think we've ever raised those. We've kept, okay, this is the amount that we have for that, and we've never raised it. So if Martin County wasn't doing a very good job and that was their budget, why did we keep their budget?
Right.
We didn't increase it. Why aren't we doing better?
Right.
If we're going to condemn them and we're going to criticize them, then why aren't we doing better than what they did? And we're not.
Right.
So, you know, it's just something to think about.
easy to cast a stone, I suppose.
Easy, yeah, it is, and it's something that we need to seriously think about. Focus on things that we can.
That's right. Well, Councilwoman Susan Gibbs Thomas, I appreciate you stopping
you.
by my little makeshift booth. I've
Thank
had you
you,
on the
thank
show
you.
before, and I will
Yes.
again. It's always
Thank
a
you.
pleasure to speak with you.
Yeah.
Any closing words for your constituents that are at home and saying, we wish we could have been there, we can't, and
Be involved. If you're not here, I understand. Be involved where you're at. Talk to your neighbor. Go online. Make sure you know the facts. Talk to your council members. Let your voice be heard, because that's what counts. That's
that
what
is what
counts.
counts. Right?
Absolutely.
Email, call, whatever
Absolutely.
you can do.
Absolutely. Yes,
So,
ma'am. Thank
Susan
you.
Gibbs
I
Thomas.
appreciate you coming out.
Oh, I'm enjoying myself. Beautiful, beautiful park here.
Yeah.
Beautiful Love Indian Town. So
Absolutely, we do
wonderful way
too.
to spend Saturday evening.
We do.
and
Thank you.
Thank you so much. You take care, and we will be in touch. And I wish you all the best. I know it's hard decisions you have to make up there in that
Absolutely.
council, so
Absolutely. Thank you.
thank you. So, folks, there we have it. We have Councilwoman Susan Gibbs Thomas here with us. We just had Commissioner Jenkins here with us as well. They're here till 7 o'clock. We still got about 35 minutes if you wanted to come out and ask them personally some questions to talk about the fire rescue services here in Indiantown. Should you stay with Martin County? Should you not? We've talked a lot tonight about the advantages of the Martin County Fire Rescue. We've talked about the disadvantages of Indiantown hiring their own services. I think it's really, folks, what Councilwoman Gibbs Thomas just said. You need to write your council members. You need to speak with them. You need to call them. Ask the simple questions. I know that this flyer is going around tonight. I think it came from Commissioner Jenkins' office. Really good questions on here to ask your council members. See what their answers are. How much will my taxes increase if FPL leaves? That's a really good question. How much will fire prevention and 911 dispatch cost? You know, Councilwoman Gibbs Thomas just spoke about that. That's not part of the plan, part of the incurred cost that Indiantown is talking about, that you need to hire that yet. How much is a new fire station going to cost? Another really good question. They're not cheap. Where will the new fire station be located? How much of an increase will I see in my homeowner's insurance? You know, that's a really, Commissioner Jenkins just touched on that, but it's called an ISO, Insurance Services Office. rating. And because Martin County is such a well-oiled machine and has so many services available, village residents have an ISO rating of 3. Now, your home insurance is based on that. You pay based on that rating. That very well may change if Indiantown has its own fire system, because it's not as well oiled. It does not provide as many services as Martin County does. So it could actually increase your homeowner's insurance. I say may and could. Those are questions I would think that you as a resident would want to know for sure before your council decides to break off in the Martin County Fire Rescue. And how about training for the fire rescue services? You know, Martin County right now sends out a fire truck and an ambulance on every call. Their firefighters are cross-trained as EMTs, so for whatever reason the ambulance can't get there right away, the firemen are there to help you. They are trained to the hilt. And right now, you have to also realize if there's more than one emergency, if there's 4 emergencies at once, Martin County can handle it. Hey, how are you doing? So, anyways, you want to come on in and chat?
I just wanted to say hello.
Well, hello. Well, come here real quick and just say hello. So,
I like to not be in the...
You don't have to be in it.
Okay.
The residents are out here. You don't have to be in the picture, but how's the meeting tonight?
Very informative.
Very informative?
Very exciting to see the community support and asking questions.
Yes, yes. Very important as well. So,
Oh, huge, yes. I live in unincorporated part
Okay.
of the county, so I have a slightly different lens.
Right, right.
In looking at it, but for those who live here, it has, you know,
Power of the people.
significant impact.
yes, it is. It's part of the people. Let your voices be heard, and it is. There's several hundred people here. It was a wonderful evening. So,
I listen to your shows, and I just actually wanted to say how
you.
informative they are, and I enjoy your guests.
appreciate it so much.
So very good.
Thank you
take
so
care.
much.
Enjoy your
You as
weekend.
well. Thank you. You as well.
Hi.
Commissioner Kippy, how
There's
are you
nothing
doing?
left to say.
No. Well, no, you always have something to say. I know you.
Well, I came out for a reason.
Yes, yes.
Thanks for doing this.
So, I
think
appreciate it.
what has to happen is more people have to know about it. I'm
Yes.
still even hearing from these people that their own neighbors don't know.
That's
You know?
shocking, and it's so important for people to get involved because these decisions are being made right now for
They
some
literally,
reason.
they are being, they don't need to be made right
Right.
now, but they are.
Right,
And I think we can figure out why,
right.
you know. It's very disappointing.
It is. So, what did you hear from the residents out here tonight? There was several hundred that came out to speak with you all.
Yeah, I think the overall theme I was not surprised at. The saddest part is the panic. There's a genuine panic in the voices of people. Some people ask me, these are my neighbors on our street, how do we get out of the incorporated village? We're right on the edge. Can we vote ourselves out? We heard that some streets early on were able to not be part of the incorporation. I said, well, the difference is they did it in the beginning. They were
Right.
never included. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know how you would get out. But that's the level of panic that people are feeling. I'm just shocked that we're having this conversation in the first place. You know, a lot of us had heard about, there's this possibility that they might try to privatize fire rescue. I'm like, that'll never happen.
Right.
Once they start to do their due diligence and realize that there's no advantage, there's no financial advantage, there's no logistical advantage, and then of course the downside is it will cost you more money. And you know, we spend a lot of time talking about dollars and cents, but it has, in this particular case, it has nothing to do with that. It's life and death.
It is.
You know, there is no financial advantage. They're paying about $120 a year per household for services. And so what are they looking to save? $50?
$120 a year, right.
$120 a year. Now, of course, a big portion of the taxes out here and those fees are paid by FPL.
Right.
Which, you know, I've had my own conversations with FPL. They've basically have corporately remained silent because they traditionally try not to get involved in disputes between municipalities.
Okay.
But eventually, as this moves forward, I would not be surprised if we hear loud and clear from FPL that they will not participate in this kind of a situation. And it's not about the tax base and the revenue. They have employees here, and they have a strong level of safety commitment to their employees and their personnel. I mean, they're working in the most treacherous industrial environments that exist.
Right, right.
Power plants,
Right.
solar plants. There's people that fall off ladders, get hit by trucks. There's chemical spills that people inhale. They can't have a pay-to-play contracted services paramedic team, and they might not even be paramedics. Medical ambulance, which maybe this week the staff is in Indiantown, and next week they're in Pahokee or wherever else their contract brings them. Our people have been out here for years and years and years. They know that Mrs. Smith on Magnolia Street has a heart condition. They know that the little boy, when they roll up at the elementary school, that the boy that they're looking at on the floor has a peanut allergy.
Yeah.
They're members of the community.
Right.
And I could see if you were going to save $5 million, maybe you would sacrifice some level of your peace of mind, but we're not sure there's any savings whatsoever. I think, sadly, a handful of their village council members, which I respect,
Right.
because they stepped up and ran just like I did.
Right.
And no one's an expert coming in.
Right.
You know, I wasn't Winston Churchill. They're not Winston Churchill or Margaret Thatcher or Ronald Reagan. Everyone learns as they go.
Right.
But what we rely on is a professional staff that's been around for decades.
Right.
The commissioners can roll in and roll out, but the staff is engineers and lawyers and medical personnel, and they understand year after year, decade after decade, how to do this.
Right.
And they educate our commissioners, us as commissioners. The village council members, I know most of them, they're lovely. They're smart people, their heart's in the right place, but I think they're being misinformed and misled by their manager. And you know, I don't want to disrespect the person, but when we're talking about making such a catastrophic decision that he somehow thinks is legitimate, it's not legitimate.
This literally can be life and death decisions that's being made. And
It's fire rescue. It's not an exaggeration. It is life and death.
It is life and death. And I've asked people, let's say, give them the benefit of the doubt, which I agree, they're not saving any money, but let's say they save $1 million. Is that worth it to lose a life? It's worth it to lose your grandmother, your mother, whatever it is? And they've resoundingly, no, it's not.
And then think about this. You know, there's so many possible downsides. They're going to do volunteers, okay? This road right in front of us is 710. It's a strategic intermodal for the state of Florida. You see how many tractor trailers are passing
Constantly.
right through what would be classified as Main Street.
Right.
That doesn't happen everywhere.
No.
This level of tractor trailers doesn't go through Stewart, Hobe Sound, Palm City, Jensen
Does not.
Beach, but it does here. And then it goes up in 710. They have nothing but problems up by Tommy Clemens. It's a very dangerous, has a lot of fatalities. Okay, so you have let's say you're able to get a group of volunteers to volunteer. They'll have to have unbelievable amounts of training. They don't get paid, obviously, so they're going to have regular jobs. So you know they're going to get a notification on their cell phone. There's been a tragic accident or a house fire.
Right.
Then they have to somehow leave their jobs, race to wherever the fire station will be, assuming that everyone else is racing at the exact same moment. Because if they get there and they fire up the truck, but the rest of them aren't there yet, they have to wait. And fire rescue is all about response time.
Quick.
But let's say all that works out fine. They roll up on an accident, and God forbid, it's a tragic fatality. What I worry about with our own fire rescue professionals that are really highly trained is PTSD.
Right.
What happens if you show up on a scene, and if you're a local, these could be people that you know.
Mm-hmm.
And now there's fatalities involved in a mangled car wreck with an 18-wheeler. I couldn't do it. So what happens if they freeze now? Some of those people, maybe they could be saved.
Right.
Maybe not everyone's a fatality. I mean, who wants to gamble that?
No.
I cannot imagine. I did reach out to a couple of the council members. I did not hear back from them. I cannot imagine that they would want to take on that responsibility when they don't have to.
They don't have to. You have a
The
well-oiled
system is not
machine.
broken.
It's not.
And Taryn Krista, our administrator, she and our staff, now you've heard, I'm sure, from your other guests that everybody pays the same amount.
Right.
There is no, you get a discount and you pay more.
Right.
But she did take a microscope or a magnifying glass and a sharp pencil and look where we could potentially assist. And we did. And so she did find about $500,000 in ambulance fees.
Okay.
That is something that we can negotiate with. If I'm a Village of Indiantown council member, I take that $500,000 that was offered by the county. I come back to my community. I say, look, we saved $500,000,
Right.
so we are being fiscally responsible, and we're still maintaining the level of service that we always
The very
have
best.
expected and had.
Yes.
I could see us having this conversation if somehow the system was tragically broken.
Right, right.
But it's not.
It's not at all.
And you know, I think in this modern day of social media, I hope that enough people, and what you're doing with this is excellent, I hope that enough people pay attention and speak up. But the council members and their manager have to listen.
They absolutely
Because I've heard
do.
some talk where they have not been listening, or they've spoken to residents and said, well, you don't know what I know. I've never taken that tact. That's not an ideal tact. And to not listen to the residents that come to these meetings, that's how this works. We all understand that we represent the residents. And you know, I have not ran into a single resident. Now, obviously they're not going to be here,
Right.
but no one's reached out to me in an email after our comments at the commission meeting and said, oh, wait a second, I think this privatization is an excellent idea. As far as I'm concerned, there was only two. Howard Brown, the manager, his consultant, who obviously, even if this conversation is continued on for a couple of months, he's going to get another couple of $100,000 when his contract gets
Right.
extended. At least that's what I read. And then it doesn't make a difference to him if it happens or not, because he's a paid consultant.
Right.
He's already gotten a check. He'll get another check. And then if it doesn't happen, he gets his money. And look, I get it. He's a professional. That's what he's doing. But if he was hired by a manager who said to him, look, we really need to figure out what the feasibility of this is, and we want this to work.
Right.
I don't know the consultant, but if you can look at a situation and say, yes, I could see this is how it would work, or this is how it might not work, and you're understand that the goal is to make it work, you're gonna hopefully present a picture for your contract
That's right.
check writer
That's right.
to say, I think this could work. But what if it doesn't? What if our volunteers show up at a house fire and they're ill prepared, or they're not they're nervous, or something goes wrong, and tragically there's a loss of life in a house fire? They're going to sue everyone. Rightfully
certainly
so.
would.
The family would say, if we had our original fire rescue, there's always a possibility of a tragedy. But when you go from a level of service which is first rate, and now it
has
cannot
that.
be the same.
It would not
You know,
be.
I will challenge anyone to a debate on how they think volunteers and a contracted service ambulance corps could be the same as our award-winning fire rescue.
100%. And you have more services. You have a greater complement of services to
We have
handle
everything.
hazmat, to handle
Right.
brush fires.
Correct. You
To
know,
handle 3 or 4 emergencies at once.
they have a huge FPL lake up here.
Mm-hmm.
So we have divers. Now you'd think, oh, you know, divers and that level of services, why would you need that way out here off the coast? Well, there's lakes and streams and other problems. Cars get submerged.
Right.
Fire volunteers don't just jump into the water. They got to come with gear to be able to, even if it's a recovery, not a rescue.
Right.
I mean, I don't understand how they think they could work that out. Now, there is such a thing as a mutual aid agreement, and obviously our fire rescue people would support their residents and protect them as much as possible. We have it with the City of Stuart, but the City of Stuart is our immediate next door neighbor, and in many cases we overlap with them.
Right. Right.
This is 20 miles outside of town. The reason we maintain the level of personnel and equipment here in Indiantown is because they're so far away. I always use the example, the worst thing that could happen to you is you are the second 911 call of the morning.
Right.
Because if you only have one rescue, it's picked up the first heart attack or stroke and it's taken them to the hospital. If you call 20 minutes later because you have a loved one that is choking or had a stroke or a heart attack or whatever,
Right.
there's not going to be the same level of service. And if there is, the bill would be nearly impossible to pay.
It certainly would, and that's just it. If Martin County would have to come in to back up Indiantown, Indiantown will be billed for that. They're going to have to cover the cost.
You hear that? That's a train.
They have
If
everything
God
here.
forbid a car tries to get in front of that train or a kid gets hit by the
Right.
train, which does happen.
It certainly
I mean,
does.
I know even in my term that sadly, and we had a boy that was riding his bike near the tracks in town.
That's right.
Got hit by the train.
I remember that.
Tom Kenny's grandson.
Yes.
And magically, miraculously, between fire rescue's response and God, He lived. He's alive today. That's the difference between having first-rate, top-notch emergency response and not just the response. Once they show up, are they going to be ready to go?
Right, right.
I mean, obviously you can tell by my comments that I think this is a terrible idea.
And I couldn't agree more.
It's a terrible idea.
If it's not broke, why change it? And it's not broke, so.
There's nothing. There's no financial advantage. There could be a financial terrible disadvantage. And there's no gambling when you're talking about the lives and safety of
That's
our
right.
residents, because Indiantown residents are Martin County residents. They are our constituents as well. Commissioner Jenkins has taken the lead on this because the actual village itself is in his district, but all of the outskirts and the unincorporated portions that are still Indiantown are mine.
Right, right.
So, but I know that Commissioner Smith and Commissioner Hurd and Commissioner Hetherington, based on the reaction from our meeting, we are 100% unified in our decision that this is a bad idea.
I could tell that from the meeting last Tuesday.
Well, I
it
appreciate
was very
that.
clear.
Yeah. And Taryn and our legal staff have done everything that they could. And I think that the village manager here was not anticipating that level of professionalism or pushback or just strong denial that his recommendation and his idea was positive. It's not a positive idea.
It's not a positive idea, and I've mentioned before that Taryn Krista brought up that he was providing numbers that weren't accurate.
Well, if you're trying to paint a picture that you're looking for a specific outcome,
that's what
you gotta, and I'm not saying he did that intentionally.
Intentionally or not, but you need to have those numbers to be accurate, and it's terrible. I mean, the residents really need to get involved here because it will impact their tax bills, and let's not overlook their lives.
Three council members can completely disrupt this whole process.
Yes.
And I don't even know what, God forbid they go forward with it. I don't know what that would mean for us in the unincorporated portion this far out. Remember, we're out here. For those of us that live closer to the coast, you drive 10, 20 miles to come out here. This is not the edge.
That's right.
There's more people that live west of here that are in unincorporated Martin County. What level of service can we guarantee them now?
Right.
We obviously can't maintain our fire rescue facility in the incorporated village of Indiantown when we are not, protecting them. We'll of course have coverage, but it won't be there.
Right.
So what are they doing to the rest of us then?
Right.
We're going to have to build something else and put it somewhere else, and it just doesn't make sense.
No, it does not make sense whatsoever.
Well, I appreciate everything that you're doing to shed a light on it.
Commissioner Campy, my pleasure. Thank you
so
for
much.
stopping by my little booth here.
Perfect. Hey, I feel like I'm on the...
Wright and Stewart on WSTU. Thank you again, Commissioner Campy. So folks, the real big message this evening is contact your council members, ask them questions, make sure you let them know whether or not you agree with this change of Martin County Fire Rescue that City Manager Howard Brown is proposing that the council vote and consider. This is your lives. Your lives could be at stake, your loved ones' lives. God forbid you're the second, third, fourth emergency of the day without having any backup. So this is a very serious issue. This has been a wonderful evening. They're wrapping up here. Folks are starting to get ready to go home. But, we had from Indiantown Councilwoman Susan Gibbs Thomas, we had 3 Martin County commissioners here, Commissioner Jenkins, Commissioner Hetherington, and Commissioner Campy, who was just with me, and also City of Stewart Commissioner Ms. Bruner. So a lot of people are concerned, and folks, government needs to be transparent. They do work for you. The council members work for you. Howard Brown works for the council members, so you really have a say there as well. Let your council members know if you're happy with the direction Howard Brown is taking Indiantown, and also make sure you let your commissioners know how you feel about the fire rescue services here in Indiantown and who you want to provide them. So this is Casey Ingram coming to you from Pope Family Park in Indiantown. It's beautiful out here, wonderful evening. I wish you all well, and let your voices be heard. Take care.